did the cardinal sin. I pull up my bow, and then I look dead at his antlers. I got out of the truck, and when I slammed the door, I heard gobbles all around me.
Let's see it.
Alaska, moose, spot and stalk. That is the bucket list.
I agree.
White Cat Outdoors. White Cat Outdoors.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the table. We're here to talk about not just the outdoors tonight, but we're going to talk about our boy Austin over here. But this is White hanging out in the studio.
Hey, I'm Nick.
This is Austin here.
Yeah, and you're the guy. Tom's
you're not a
here.
host tonight. You don't get to introduce yourself yet.
Yeah, I don't know how well I'm going to like this, but we'll just roll with it.
You're just a guest tonight because it's been almost 5 years now that we started the podcast, and early on, me, Nick, and Tom did our little host Hotseat thing to kind of introduce ourselves to all the listeners so they know what we're all about, what gets us outside and whatnot. And we brought you in and never did that. And we had a couple people request that we do that so they can get to know you a little bit better. I feel like people...
And he's officially a host now. Like, it's all official.
Forever.
Paperwork's on.
Yeah.
Right.
You're part of the team. And yeah, it was just like, man, Who is Austin? That's the
we don't
question.
We don't know. I feel like people have a pretty good idea about you because you've been on a lot of episodes now. But still,
4 years.
We don't know your
all
whole
of a sudden
backstory.
this guy just starts joining in. What's going on here?
Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of rewind to when I first started hunting. I was probably about 8 or 7 years old. I believe
I've
I shot
never
my
heard
first
anyone.
buck.
I was gonna say that too.
It's 7 or 8, not 8 or 7.
I don't know when it was. To be honest, I really don't. I think it was 8, but. What did they... Game Commission did a thing where you could...
Mentor program.
Yeah, so I was hunting as early as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up shooting a buck, I think, my first year out.
Well, so let's back up even a little bit more. Who in your family hunted and, like, got you excited or interested in the outdoors?
Because, like, our whole family... I shouldn't say our whole family, but, like, our parents and stuff, we've grown up in the outdoors, from the... as young as we can remember. We've been outside sitting in the woods with our dads. We
fishing.
Had BB guns when we were little kids shooting. I would go out all the
Targets.
time. I would shoot grasshoppers all the time with my BB gun. But yeah, so from the time we were infants, basically, we were in the outdoors. So did you kind of have the same experience, or?
Yeah, I just grew up being outside. My dad was a huge hunter, so I learned a lot or everything from him.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents hunted too, but it was mostly my dad that got me into it, and he took me out as soon as I was able to.
Were you one of those kids that, you'd see dad going out like on the weekends and he'd be like gone all day and you're like, what's dad doing? And then like, was there like a point where you're like, oh, that he's hunting? Like, yeah, okay, I want to do that too.
Yeah, and there was, I could barely remember when I first started going. It was just my dad and I. We would be out there all day, and that's kind of where it started off.
Did you start going out with him like before the mentor program?
No, I don't think I.
Because you probably were about 7 or 8 years old when the mentor program was introduced. Because I was 10. The first year.
I was 13, so that point I was already hunting, so I never got to have the benefits of that mentor program. And how old are you? 25?
I will be next month.
So I'm 5 years older than you. So yeah, you would have been 8 years old the first year.
Yeah. Lucky bastard.
That was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, that's where it all started. And spring turkey hunting, I love doing that. I was doing that with my dad, and he got me into bear hunting later on. I was about 13 years old. I shot my first bear there.
13 got your first bear. Wow, there's a lot of guys that go their whole life.
I think I was 13 when I got my first bear too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. And
Frank did his with a bow.
No big deal.
Yeah. That would have been cool if I did that too with a bow, but no.
No, then you just did it when you were 21 out of my stand.
Yeah.
So let's talk about maybe like your first hunt or your first successful hunt, like that first hunt that really stands out in your memory. Whether it was a successful hunt, your first hunt, like what's that first one that
Really got you hooked.
that you were like, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life?
This is going to get expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of good hunts. I think the best one I had was probably a few years ago. I think I was 20 years old.
You're skipping
Yeah,
10
we're-
years of hunting.
Back
Oh,
way up. I'm talking about the first hunt that got you like
Yeah,
locked in.
like
You're
8, 9-year-old little
I
Austin.
really don't remember when I was 8 years old. I shot that first buck. I remember how everything happened, but it wasn't.
Well, run us through it.
I
Tom's
already
told.
said
We've
this
all
before
told our
on here,
first.
too.
We've all told our first buck stories.
Yeah, I said mine before too on here, but yeah, I'll run this one down. So we were out there. My dad had a pop-up blind on top of stilts that we made. I mean, perfect setup for doing an all-day sit. Mm-hmm. And we had the buddy heater in there and 2 office chairs. We're just looking around all day.
So this was when you were like 8 years old or
Yeah,
9 years old.
yeah,
Okay.
this is my first buck.
Did you kill
Actually-
your first buck the first day you went out?
I can't remember. I think it was like the last weekend. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think we saw a bunch of deer that morning. I was going to try and kill a buck. And one was coming. I think it was walking towards the blind. And my dad had me set up, getting ready, safety off. And the buck started turning away. He's like, okay, now or never. And I just shot. Pretty much, I think I closed my eyes when I shot, too. But I pulled the trigger. The deer, I don't know if it kind of crashed out of sight, but he knew it kind of went down. And we waited till dark. Ended up finding it. Got my picture. Dude, I was super small, man.
So
I
when
was
you say
How big was this buck?
It was just a little 5-point.
I feel like that's what you
gotta start there.
You have to start there.
Yeah.
We knew a kid back in school, like right around that mentor program. First deer he ever kills, giant 12. Like just
yeah,
Matt, and I'm like awesome for you. Like that's a sick buck, but you're
Right.
gonna be chasing that for the rest of your life. Like you'll never. I mean, I can't say never, but it's gonna be a long time before you top something like
Yeah,
that.
and then like if the next year you go out and you shoot a 4-point, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you shot a 12-point last year. Now you're back to shooting 4 points." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a perfect little buck for me. I was
How
happy
early
with
in the
it.
day? How long did your dad make you sit in the blind till dark? Like, was this
This
first
was-
light kind of thing, or?
No, I mean, I could have this all kind of wrong. I'm just going.
But
off
it's
this
your
fuzzy
story. Tell it
memory I
however
have.
you want. I mean,
Yeah.
this could be a total
it's your
lie.
world, man.
No, but I believe we waited till dark and we walked up to it. I think it was snow on the ground that morning, and we found blood and walked over to it. It was dead, and we went and we told my grandpa, and we got the tractor back in the woods, loaded up in the bucket, and I watched my dad how to gut a deer for the first time, which was cool.
Did he give you the classic "pay attention because I'm only doing this for you once"?
Yeah, but he's did a couple more after that. But, but everything went. Yeah, it was a cool learning experience. First time shooting a deer and watching everything go down, and that was about it for that hunt that I remember.
My with the gutting deer and stuff, and my grandpa was with me for my first buck, and he was the one. His exact words were, "Watch closely because this is the last one I'm going to do for
Yeah.
you." And last year in archery season, my grandpa killed a nice buck, and I was hunting not far from him, so he
Did
called.
you say watch closely because this is the
No,
last time?
no,
I'm
it
gonna
was
do-
funny. It went full circle because he shoots this buck and I help him track it. I mean, it wasn't a hard track by any means, but we get up to it and he looks at me, looks at the deer, and he says, "Well, you've been hunting for almost 20 years now. Let's see what you've learned."
See if you remember how to do this.
So I was like, "Does that mean I'm gutting this one?" He said, "Yeah, why don't you?" So I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
So now my grandpa's at the point where he's like, "I've been doing this long enough. I got grandkids for this shit." So
Right.
I got it out for him, and I was happy to do it. So I told him, I said, "Now, does this work the same way where I only have to do this once?" He said, "Oh, no, bullshit. That's
You're doing it from now on.
He said, "If you're around when I shoot a deer, you're going to be gutting." And I said, "All right, fair enough." But so that's your first hunt.
Yeah.
Was that hook you right in where you're like, "This is,
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life"?
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much where I was like, okay, I like what's going on here? And we went spring turkey hunting too. I don't know if that was part of the mentor program too, right?
Yeah, you could do the mentor.
Yeah, 'cause I killed-
for turkey. I mean,
The first year the mentor program was open, I killed a spring turkey that year.
Okay, so yeah, I think that the spring after that, I went gobbler hunting with my dad. I don't know if I missed one the first year. I think I did, and then the year after that, I finally shot a turkey. And after that, I loved turkey hunting. After that,
Turkey hunting's always had a special place in my heart too.
I never got the big bug for turkey hunting. I enjoy it, but it doesn't like really fire me up.
yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. That just
It's the goblin in the woods. Like it's to me, it's you're like talking to them.
yeah,
No, that's my favorite. I would rather just go listen to them gobble and like talk back and forth. I don't care if I kill anything. It's just fun to make them gobble.
yeah. it
Oh
is.
yeah. Well, and honestly, in Austin, you probably know this too. The more you hunt turkeys, and you've killed a lot of birds too, that for the longest time, I thought if they were gobbling, it was good.
No, you don't
And-
want to keep
And
them talking.
I'd sit
like
there
that.
and just call my head off.
Yeah, you don't
listening
wanna- you
to- 'cause
don't
I
wanna
just
do that.
I loved hearing them gobble, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So
Yeah.
and then as I got a little bit older and started getting a little more consistent.
I should probably stop doing this.
Yeah. So I use like I scout for birds probably more than your average person turkey hunting. Like I'll spend a month or two before the season even opens just sitting in the woods in the morning like I'm turkey hunting and just listening without calling. But
Yeah.
so were you a Jake guy on your first bird, or did you
No,
kill a Tom?
I think I actually killed a nice bird. The first one I got.
Triple bearded,
No, it was a
two
triple
inch.
beer with a
No.
tag on its leg that you win $1,000 on. But no, it wasn't nothing too crazy. But I know it was a nice bird. I don't believe I have the beard or anything, but
So was your dad? What kind of calling did your dad do?
mouth calling, and he's probably the best mouth caller I've ever heard. He's called turkeys across ravines. I don't know how he still does it, and it's amazing. But
Calling them across ravines is hard.
yeah,
That's
pulling
real
him away
hard.
from hens. I mean, he's a great caller. But
That's probably why he hates Tom so much.
no, but other than that, yeah, it's
So tell us a little bit about your first turkey hunt. Like, was your dad big on decoys? What's kind of how does he
I
go
think it
about
was
turkey
more
hunting?
training me how to walk quiet through the woods. I think that was probably
I think
Yeah.
turkey
biggest-
hunting.
yeah,
Turkey hunting. I think you're going to learn more about woodsmanship than deer hunting.
yeah,
And then I think even above that, trapping, I feel like will teach you more about woodsmanship than any other type of
Yeah,
hunting.
trapping will teach you more than anything.
When it comes to like woodsmanship and
yeah. My dad's real strict, so he made it pretty clear how to be quiet in the woods. So
You
Yeah.
step on one twig, it's like, shut the fuck up.
yeah, it was but I think that the first bird I missed, it was like the end of the season too. He called it in and he asked if I was on it, and I go yeah, and I'd shoot, and it didn't go down, flew away or whatever. But
he goes, I thought you said you were on it.
yeah, I don't know. It was
Didn't look like you were on it.
yeah, that was a long time ago. But
My grandpa, I remember I was with Tom and my grandpa with one of Tom's first turkeys. Well, would have been his first turkey. And this bird's coming through the woods, and my grandpa's telling Tom, like, shoot. And Tom never shot, and the bird gets out of range. And my grandpa goes, God damn it, Tom, when I tell you to shoot a turkey, you fucking shoot that turkey. Like, my grandpa was getting so mad at him. Like, I bring this bird in. You didn't shoot. God damn it.
What the hell are we doing out here?
It's funny though, like looking back, and I'm sure you probably have the same memories. Like you said, your dad with how strict he was about being quiet. Like even at 8, 9 years old, you're just a freaking kid, and they're just like hammering, like you gotta do
yeah.
this, you gotta like
yeah,
But now we're all really good hunters, and that's why.
yeah, because we're right from the time you were 9 years old, your dad's yelling at you like you need to quiet down.
yeah.
And really teaching you, like none of us were the kids that sat in the tree stand with an iPad.
No.
Oh
and-
yeah,
You sat and paid attention.
Yeah. And every kid I know, like, because I had some younger cousins and stuff that hunted that way, like when they were real little. And I always was like, that wasn't even like an option.
Yeah, that's
when
not-
I was like, my dad didn't let me
And you're
bring
not
it.
hunting
No,
at that
like-
point.
Like, I didn't have a Game Boy or an iPad or any, like, my entertainment was stare out the window and look for animals.
right.
Yeah.
So I think having our dads and stuff do those sort of things.
Yeah.
Well, now, like, that stuff is so ingrained in me. Like, no matter what I'm doing in the woods, if I'm walking in the woods, just going to check a camera, I'm very careful about where I'm walking and how I'm walking. I'm not making noise. Even, like, it could be the middle of summer. I'm not hunting at all. I'm just going to check cameras, but I still am very cautious. And I shouldn't say I'm cautious. It's kind of second nature at this point.
It's a good practice to just keep repetitively doing. And yeah, you ever hunt with someone that's just dragging their feet through the woods?
Pisses
like,
me off.
oh
I can
my
see why my
gosh.
dad used to get so mad, because if I'm walking with somebody, I like turn around, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
How do you make so much noise when you're walking?
Yeah, it's like they're purposely stepping on every stick. And but that's just things you learn after hunting for years. And
So after, you're probably at this point 9-10 years old, you got your first buck, first deer. You got to be getting to the point now where your dad's kind of putting you in a spot and letting you go. What was like that transition from like always being right with your dad to now you're kind of sitting there by yourself? Like how did that feel? What, got any funny stories from that time period? Because I know I screwed up some stuff in that first year or two by myself.
Oh yeah. But I think that year I shot that bear when I was 13, I mean, he was kind of set me up in a spot where the guys were going to push up through. And that day that I shot that bear, it was the end of the day, and we're walking around through the old logging road. Everything's clear cut up the hill and everything. And we're walking the bottom of the creek with snow on the ground, looking at all these bear tracks crossing the creek. And he goes, go up there on the side hill. I'm going to try and push this bear up to you. So I start walking up the logging road around the clear cut where it's all thick and cover and everything. And we're wrapping around the side hill. We got walkie-talkies. We're talking to each other. He's like, okay, I'm on the track. And then about half an hour goes by. He's still about halfway up through. And I see the tracks cut out in the logging road. I'm like, I see the tracks. And I look up to my left. I'm like following the tracks. And I look up the left, the top of the hill, and he's standing up there, and I pull my gun up. He's probably like 120 yards, and I shoot, and I didn't see anything after that. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I met up with my dad, and we go up there. Yeah, he was laughing because I'm like, I see tracks, and then I shot right after that. So we go up to the spot. We don't see anything, and he must have just died, like jumped right in the, underneath the treetops there, and couldn't see him right when we got it there. But yeah, he was right there and made like a perfect heart shot. And
so you're saying at the time, so you started hunting around 8. By the time you're 13, you've killed a buck, a turkey, and a black bear.
Yeah.
Like you've knocked out all 3 of the big game deals in Pennsylvania, which some guys go their entire life trying to get that bear.
Yeah.
And don't get it.
Even I see guys now talking about, they've been hunting for 20 years and they finally got their first buck.
Yeah, I see people post that too. I'm like,
I try not to like judge and just more be grateful.
Me either. Yeah.
Like I try to just be grateful of the experience I had growing up where like I could shoot a buck every single year if I wanted to.
Oh, for sure.
Not necessarily a quality deer, but I could do it just to say I did it.
Yeah. But then when you see those posts, people going 20 years and they're like, finally got it done. It's like, wow. Like,
and who knows? Maybe they were just waiting for that big 8.
But I see a lot of people that say, I've waited 20 years. I've been hunting and it finally got my first buck, and it's a basket 8 point.
It could be too. If you're strictly a rifle hunter and strictly a Saturday deal, you may only get 2 days a year.
Boy, I if I just took 2 days of rifle every year, I could probably kill a buck every year.
Probably, but you
that
say
goes
that
back to what you said, like
because of all the time you had in the woods.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know I can put myself in those positions, and a lot of people don't have the property to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say game lands too. I mean, a lot of times hunts get ruined pretty quick once you get orange walking around. But
well, that's actually another topic. Good lead in. I wanted to talk to you about, because you're really the first guy we've had, as a host that really enjoys the public land.
Yeah, we
hunting.
all kind of hunt very differently. I like swamps and clear cuts because that's what I always grew up hunting. Nick and Tom kind of go more to like food plots and
Well, Tom's more food. I'm more like thick bedding, like European alder and red brush, like not swamp,
yeah.
but just really thick, nasty stuff.
Yeah.
And then Tom is definitely more of a food guy.
Yeah, so we all kind of encompass everything, but we all do it on private. Like I've hunted some public out of state, and Nick has too, but we don't seek public land in Pennsylvania. We have so
I'll be
much
honest, I
private-
avoid it.
Yeah, I for sure avoid it.
It's not even that I don't seek it; I avoid it.
Yeah, but you kind of go after it, and you
I
like
haven't-
that.
Yeah, I haven't shot a buck that really anything impressive off of game lands yet, but turkey hunting, I love turkey hunting on game lands, but
Turkey hunting on game lands is a little different.
I've done that.
yeah.
I go down to Allegheny National Forest for birds, and that's a blast because you can walk as far as your little heart will let you to go. You know?
Right.
But I feel like a lot of your hunting on the public land comes from the bear hunting, because around here there's not a lot of great bear hunting around where we're at. So you guys do a lot of bear hunting like over a little bit east of here, right?
Yeah, we ventured.
On public land. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's where a lot of your public land experience came from, was all the bear hunting. And then you're like, well, I'll just do everything else here just because.
Right, yeah.
So what I kind of spinning off of that a little bit. What about public land gives that luster to you that like draws you towards it? Versus because like you have opportunities to hunt, private, and
I beg him to come to my property.
and
he won't do
leases.
it.
Like
Well,
you've got a
I've been
lease.
there once.
Like you have the opportunity to hunt the same type of property that we do, but you, like I said, you gravitate towards this public. So like, what is it about public that draws you to it so strongly?
Oh, I just like hunting new areas for the most part too. I think there's a lot of great country we live in right here, and there's a lot of great bucks and all these. I mean, there's a lot of bucks that people don't even know about on these game lands too. And I figured it'd be kind of a cool adventure and see if I could find a nice 140, 150 laying in the game land somewhere. So that's kind of what I was trying to go for. But we'll see what this year holds too.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's not a lot of people that I like to hunt with, because we hunt hard, and I don't like hunting with people that don't hunt hard. And you are like the only person that has come into like my hunting circle that I'm like, all right, you can come in. You're a good hunter. You know what you're doing.
Frank.
And I feel like a lot of it is because of your public land experience, and you know a lot of little nuances about things, and you can tailor different situations because you know how to deal with that stuff, because you're like, well, this is a really heavy pressured area. I know what I'm doing here. And you can take that and apply it other places. And
Yeah.
I think another thing that I was, happy to bring Austin in and everything was, and I have a lot of respect for you for this, because you're not afraid to disagree with anybody about something in hunting. And like we joke about it all the time, but I think that there's a level of respect in your confidence in the way you hunt, that if somebody says something that you don't agree with, you're not afraid to say, bullshit, or
don't know what the
like,
fuck
no,
you're
I
talking
don't
about.
believe that, or and
Yeah.
you're not afraid to have an opinion that differs from other people at the table, because you have,
you can back it up.
you've got so like
Yeah,
bunch
I
of
hope I don't
turkeys.
sound too cocky when I do shit like that.
No,
No, because
I love it.
all of us do. Like all of us have certain things that nobody else agrees with, but you're gonna look at my, report card of hunting over the years and tell me I'm wrong. Like in all, like I respect the fact that you're able to sit there and say, nah, I don't believe that, or no, you guys are fucking wrong.
Because a lot of people, when they start talking hunting, they just start agreeing with everything other people
Because
say.
they're
or they,
afraid to be wrong.
They pretend that they know like what they're talking about. Like if I start talking about hunting a certain situation that a lot of people haven't been in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, for sure, totally, yeah, I know what you mean." Like, no, you fucking don't. And
Yeah.
if you either don't know or you have different experience than someone that's saying that, you're like, you either say I don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to, like, with my stories, I always try to say, like, for the scenario I was in, this is how it worked out. Because, like, I'm still learning myself. And I just, like I said, I always thought it was neat. And I think that was another reason we became friends so quickly, was just like, no, this guy knows his shit. He's not afraid to tell me, if he doesn't believe in something I'm doing.
Yeah, and even like we disagree on stuff all the time, and that's why I really like the four of us when we hunt together, because we all do very different things when we're hunting, and it's nice to play on that and have
we're
the
all
other
killing
person's
shit, too.
knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot off of you guys too. The last few years we were hanging out, so
Yeah, it's been fun.
yeah,
We're just getting started.
yeah. Hopefully, a couple big hunts coming up here too.
So another thing that like you've really, I guess, seemed to gravitate towards is you like doing your out of state hunts.
Oh yeah, I'm all about that.
yeah,
But
which
you guys refuse to go on out of state hunts with me, but
No, it's because you don't like to go on turkey hunts.
yeah,
That's all we can afford is turkey hunts.
I know. Even
Like-
those are getting expensive. You got to buy the $150 general admission tag and plus the tag with.
Well,
that.
you could save some money if you didn't buy $200 nights at the Hampton.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I
We
can
stay
show-
in
I don't like
$30
bed
night
bugs, too,
hotel.
so.
Ah,
Yeah, I like finding an ashtray in my non-smoking room. That's the
Yeah.
kind of hotel I want to
No,
stay
that's,
at.
that's my vacation, so I was doing it up right.
I couldn't believe, because the funny thing was there was a really shitty hotel like in the same complex.
and you're like, why aren't we over
Well,
there?
I just assumed like when I pulled
That's
in,
gotta be the one.
I was like, because that's what I'd have picked. And
I
Austin's
think I
like,
was looking at the ratings on it. It was like 1.5 stars, but
That ain't for Austin.
No,
I tell you, I will go on. If you guys plan a turkey hunt, I will go with you this year.
all right, they're a blast.
they're fun.
I honestly, I want to get Austin to do Maryland with me.
Dude, Maryland, that was a fun hunt.
You camp in the mountains with the birds.
That would be cool.
Yeah, you
Like-
wake up in the morning and listen to them gobble, and you're like, okay, I'm going this way this morning.
Yeah, you don't even drive. You just like we had a campsite. We'd cook over the fire.
You walk out of the tent, and
This is just like
In-
national forest.
Yeah, but massive national forest. Like
Yeah,
you're
it's
you're
huge.
camping out in the middle of nowhere, and like I said, you literally just wake up in the morning, listen for a bird, and then just say, "Okay, guys, I'm heading this way," and then you just take off on a hike.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's,
it was
it's
a lot
awesome.
of fun.
Dang.
So
I'd also like to go out. This is like the only turkey hunt that I would really look forward to, that I would really like to do with you guys. When I went deer hunting out in Nebraska quite a few years ago now, we saw Merriams all over the place.
I want to marry him in
And
the worst way.
They were everywhere, and I'm like, this would be so easy to hunt. Like there's so much property. You can
I've heard
go
they're
anywhere.
dumb compared to Easterns.
I've heard everybody that I know that turkey hunts around the country says if you can call a turkey in Pennsylvania, you can call you could kill 20 in any other state.
Can you think of the last year I didn't kill a longbeard in PA?
It's been a moment. So we should go to Nebraska one of these years and do a turkey hunt and kill a Merriam.
Yeah.
I'd be in. Turkey
Maybe
hunt.
not this spring. That's kind of short notice, but
You could do Maryland now.
yeah.
Maryland's actually it's the exact same scenario that when we went to Maryland. It's over April 20th.
Yeah.
It's the same opening weekend that we had 5-6 years ago when we went.
Yeah,
So
you guys plan one, I'll be there.
we'll have to come back to this.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So Austin, what as like obviously you're not gonna be hanging it up. You're not done hunting after this year or whatever.
no.
So do you have any as like a hunter, outdoorsman, you know, let's hear some bucket list or like goals that you have before you die. What sort of things do you want to accomplish?
Big things.
yeah,
Not
big.
little shit like, oh, I want to shoot a nice buck next year. Big
Yeah,
shit.
like I'm talking. Let's
No,
go like
okay.
top 3 life goals that you want to achieve before you die, like in hunting.
Well, I'm gonna do small goals first.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
for instance,
Yeah,
I
we'll
wanna
build up.
shoot, I really do want to shoot like a 150 next year. I'm gonna try and do that. And
But
then-
that's not even. You're talking like you
I
want to
know.
kill.
I'm gonna get
like
to
a-
what you're talking about, but
Well, I'm saying, but like next year, that's like a. You just want to. Is that a public land goal, or is that just a in general? You don't
That's-
care if it's in
that's in
Iowa.
Ohio.
however,
you
I'll
just
probably
wanna
be
kill
hunting
one-
Ohio again. But,
Okay.
I do want to shoot a moose on the bucket list. That's on the bucket list for sure. But
We
you
don't know
talking-
anybody that could
Are
help
you
with
talking
that.
any moose or like Alaskan,
I want an Alaskan big moose or Canada moose.
like big 50-inch bull?
Yeah, and I'd love to get a tag drawn from PA for an elk tag.
Oof, that's a lofty goal.
Yeah.
A lot of
I've
guys
been
go their
putting
whole life.
points since I was, I don't know, like 15 years old.
Yeah,
So
I know
we'll
a lot
see.
of people that put in their whole life for that and don't get it. That
Yeah.
that's
Even a
one that's
cow would
kind
be
of
cool.
out of your control because you're just waiting on a tag.
But that's just something I do every year, and I
Yeah.
don't think about it.
I know somebody that pulled for the Arizona lottery years ago. This Ed,
That's
Ed pulled for Arizona.
crazy. But back to you, Austin.
Yeah, an elk and a moose, that'd be it for me. I don't want to get too crazy and start going. I don't care for that, going around the world. And
You don't have any like
No aspirations for Africa or anything.
maybe not yet. I don't know. I don't.
Africa's been looking more and more appetizing to me in the last year. I don't know why.
Has it?
I think it's because what it's starting to cost in America to go for an elk or even a whitetail. If you want to go on a guided whitetail hunt, like in Illinois,
in Africa or something.
no, like no, in Illinois, like to go on a guided whitetail hunt in Illinois is like over $5,000 now.
Oh yeah.
And you
elk
can
hunting,
do
elk hunting's 8, 9, 10, 20 grand if you want to go to the Gila.
Yeah.
Alaska moose
20 grand.
20, 30 grand.
yeah.
I can go to Africa for like 5 or 6
Yeah,
and
shoot,
kill
like,
5 or 6 animals.
Yeah.
Granted, taxidermy and all that stuff's going to be way more,
Yeah,
you know,
your
export.
end number will probably be about the same.
But I also got 5 animals.
Yeah.
And it's a
And
guaranteed
I was gonna
5.
say it's like a guaranteed 5 animals. Whereas if you go on that $30,000 moose hunt, it's a maybe 1 animal.
Yeah.
You go to Africa for that same money, that's guaranteed 5 animals.
Yeah. So like my thing is, I'm like, it's been more and more appetizing with how expensive hunts are becoming. Where
Yeah,
I'm
when
like,
you talk about bang for your buck,
yeah.
Africa's
And ask
up there.
there's some fucking cool animals over there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't turn a trip down like that. But I mean, it's like,
Turn your
All right,
nose.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Fine.
no, but definitely an elk and a moose. I'd love to get that before I die. But what were you saying, Nick?
About what?
Oh, you're finishing up.
Oh no, I was just like when you said you didn't feel like hunting around the world. My grandpa has the Grand Slam with sheep, and so I've always, since I was a little kid, wanted to kill sheep. Like
how many
and
are those?
4.
Oh, 4.
No, there's 5,
5?
isn't there?
Yeah. The stone, the doll, desert, bighorn. It's just those 4.
Maybe there's just 4.
Maybe it's just the 4.
Yeah, I thought there was 5. Okay.
But so I've always wanted to kill sheep. Most of them in the U.S. are out of my price range, like $100,000.
They're that high.
Some of them, yeah.
Wow.
So I've always said that, like, if I had the money and could do it, and I could only do one sheep hunt my entire life, I'd go to, I'd go overseas. Yeah, and I'd go after a Marco Polo sheep.
Marco Polo.
Those things are sweet.
They make the sheep in the U.S. look small. I mean, their span is like 5, 6
They have
foot.
like, because sheep in North America all have like a single curl.
Yeah.
Marco Polos curl a couple times and keep going out.
And they're massive, like 240-pound sheep. But the
I
hunts,
think they're bigger than that.
they might be. But I think the hunts start at like 20,000 feet of elevation. Like you were up there.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of walking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
So you don't have you're just a North American
Yeah,
guy.
I don't know. I mean, so hunts like that, you really got to open a checkbook to.
Well,
So I
that's
don't
what
even-
These are
That's
goals.
what we're talking about.
Yeah,
We're
dreams.
talking about lofty
I think
goals.
an elk and a moose would be perfect, and that's. all
so
I care for.
I guess let's put it this way.
Money's not an
You
option.
just won the Mega Million for like $3 billion.
Oh yeah, I would definitely like to do that sheep hunt. You were telling me about that before too.
Yeah. But like, money's not an option. What is the number one hunt that you would go on? Like the first one, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Well, I'd knock those 2 out, and then I'd probably do the sheep hunt, go up to Africa, and then I want to shoot a big red stag.
Dude, red stag.
Yeah.
I go back and forth on red stag so much because they're such a fucking beautiful animal. I
Yeah.
love red stag. Every time I see one, I'm like, fuck, I want to shoot one of those. But almost everywhere you go, it's in a fence. There's not a lot of places that
New
you
Zealand. I was watching this hunting episode
can. There,
last
almost
night.
all of New Zealand is fenced.
Oh really?
Yeah,
But this thing was ginormous.
dude, they're ridiculous.
You guys, my dad's seen one free range up in New York.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
It came out of a fence.
Yeah, but it was out in the wild. Did you ever hear that story?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a
But no,
guy.
that is way up on my list. Like I said, I go back and forth about it, but I would love a big red stag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my thing, like, it sucks because you're right. In Africa, most of Africa is a fence.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, when you have a 50,000 acre fence,
Yeah, you have 100 square miles.
I'm
in a
sorry,
fence, like,
there's no difference to me.
I'll never hunt a fence anything in my life. No.
Even when it's that big of a fence, I'm still like,
there's an asterisk next to it, but I'm sorry, you can't. Well, here's the thing. If you were like a lease that's 2,000 acres, how much easier would it be for you to kill something if they put a fence around it? Not that much easier. And then when you break that up where you take, 100 square miles and you put a fence around it, if I can like almost burn a tank of gas going inside the fence, nah, it's, to me, like I said, there's an asterisk,
right?
But I don't think that you have any different
that's
advantage.
Why I'm like back and forth on it, because I'm so against fence hunting. I don't like it. I don't think it should be a thing, but also the fence is that big. You're not getting an advantage from the fence.
And you're not getting an advantage. And I also, to me, there's something to be said about the reason for the fence. Mm-hmm. So whitetail do not need to be in captivity to be held safe. Like whitetails are thriving in the wild on their own.
Yeah.
Africa, and I don't know enough about New Zealand, but Africa, the reason that they have all those ranches and fences is because poachers will
it's not to keep the animals in, it's to keep poachers out.
Yes. So I think, to me, there's a little bit or a lot to do with why the fence is used. Mm-hmm. And if it's for protection of the animals, I feel a lot better about it than I do if it's to grow these unnatural whitetail. And I have no problem if you want to go hunt high fence like whitetails, but don't compare it to a free range deer. It's two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess that settles it, babe. You and I are going to go to New Zealand next year. What do you say?
Next year, yeah. Tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll head out right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So through all the years of hunting, and you've accomplished a lot. Like, you've killed some really big deer, a lot of turkeys, killed some out of state birds.
Several bears.
So, several bears. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's new or getting into hunting, what's like one thing you'd want to tell them?
Just about general hunting or a specific game?
Anything.
Yeah,
anything that stands out in your mind, that someone that's new to hunting, they come up and say, hey, what's one thing that you would tell me that I need to know to make me a better hunter?
I don't know. I'm going to have to think on this one, but
it could even be like a life thing. Like I just to give you an example, like what I've always said is like hunt your hunt. And what I mean by that is just that just because your neighbor wants to kill this or that, or the guy at the bar tells you that you shouldn't trophy hunt, it's all about meat. To me, shoot what you want, what makes you happy, but own that kill. I hate seeing on Facebook when somebody shoots a buck, they have a picture that they're obviously proud enough to take a photo of, but then they, it's not my biggest buck, or, I was
after a bigger one.
Yeah, don't make excuses. If you took that animal's life, you better own that shit.
Yeah.
So I've always said, hunt your hunt. Don't let other people dictate what you should or shouldn't shoot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So if there's any, something like that, or
I was thinking like if someone around here was gonna hunt, I'd be like, know your pressure spots, or like where the game's at and where they could come out of, or like something like that. If we're talking about strategy wise, but no, that's a good one too, Nick.
Well, that's fine. Like the strategy thing, like there's a lot of, it takes a long time to learn something like that. If nobody ever tells you,
it takes a lot of trial and error to learn those little things. Like when stuff gets pressured, it goes here, or when it's pressured, it bails out of things this way. And knowing how they use those areas,
know your pinch points, I guess would be a good one.
And then I guess I'll help you out a little bit here. You're somebody that really focuses in on scrapes. So could you give us, one or two things that you've learned about scrapes, or that you use scrapes for while hunting, that would help somebody in the woods?
Yeah, scrape hunting's great. I like to if I find a scrape, or even this time of year when I'm out looking for sheds, I'll mark on Onyx or on my phone the exact location of the scrapes I find, because most of the time they'll open up the year after too. And I think it's a great way to see what bucks are coming through your property, checking for does.
So you're using it, putting a camera on it, and then using them for inventory, like somebody might use like a corn pile for, because you're on a lot of public ground where you can't, put a corn feeder out. So you're almost using scrapes to help locate, what's in the area.
And they're great to hunt. I mean, end of October, it's a great place to be. And even there's like another rut in end of November that they'll start hitting them again too. So
how are you setting up on a scrape? Because like it matters if you're upwind, downwind, how close. Like what is when you see a scrape that you want to hunt on?
Yeah.
How are you using that scrape in relation to where you get set up?
So say I find a scrape and I'm standing at it, and I'm going to start to look around and see where their bedding is or where they're most likely to walk down through. Okay. I think it's important to see where the deer, or you're going to expect the deer to come down through. And then next, like I would judge the wind or see what most of the wind is most of the time. And I like to be pretty far because you start getting in the late season, there's no leaves on the trees. So within 35, 40 yards.
So you're 35, 40 yards, but is your scent blowing towards the scrape?
Away from the scrape.
Away from the scrape, so it's kind of hitting you in the face if the scrape's ahead of you.
Yep.
Okay.
And
why 35, 40 yards? Like, are you shooting that distance, or are you hoping that the bird or a buck comes downwind?
Yeah, I would shoot 30, 40 yards at a buck. I think I'm capable of doing it. My bow is shooting as fast as it could shoot. And they're a lot of time they're like licking the branch. I mean, they're making all kinds of sounds, digging.
Yeah, they're not on high alert.
Yeah, so I think it's a great opportunity to get an arrow through at that time. But,
okay.
Yeah, I think it's 35, 40 yards. I think it's a good range to where you can still move around and they won't be spooked too. But I mean, it all depends. I'm at 30, 20 yards on some of them too. So.
And sometimes it's, the only tree that you can get a stand in is 15 yards.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just how it happens.
Right. Yeah, it all varies, so.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Austin. I hope our listeners know you a little bit better and, just kind of get an idea of what you're about. And because, I mean, like I said, we've had you on for a while, but we haven't really been able to dedicate an episode to Austin Enterline. So that's...
yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely very happy to have you on the podcast, and I very much enjoy hunting with you, babe.
Well, thank you, Frank.
I am right there with Frank, and I enjoy having the opposing opinions, even though we give shit to each other back and forth.
Yeah.
Mostly to Austin.
Yeah, I mean, but he takes it well, and he's not afraid to give it back. So, on that note, we'll close her out there.
And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Oh, it was just Christmas and Happy New Year. So Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year.
It's my birthday episode, too, when this releases. So.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so party it up for me.
Happy birthday.
Have a beer, and make sure you guys all get outside.